Welcome to Family Drama Stories from Reddit. Real family drama told from the heart. Let's begin. After a weekend-long family reunion, I returned to my little Seattle apartment fatigued. Everything seemed regular, at least until I opened my banking app to transfer funds for the electricity payment. My eyes blurred when I saw the number on the screen. $852. I checked it 3 times, then again to ensure it wasn't a glitch or my sleepy eyes playing tricks. Only 2 days ago, I had more over $9,000 on that account. I felt blood draining from my body. My heart hammered, as if someone was knocking from within my chest. I called the bank right away, hands shaking. After a few security inquiries, the representative explained that the transactions were performed from a previously logged-in device, same IP address as a personal PC. I stood up, grabbed my keys, and drove directly back to my mother's house, the same location that recently hosted our largest family gathering of the year. I still couldn't get the images of everyone hugging and laughing out of my thoughts. And yet, just hours later, I was there again in the old kitchen, where I grew up, grabbing for a glass of water from the cupboard, my heart still pounding from shock. "Are you back already?" My sister, Amanda's voice came in from the living room, casual and carefree as if nothing had happened. She sat on the couch, her legs crossed, clutching a glass of red wine with no expression of anxiety on her face. I just checked my accounts. I attempted to maintain a steady voice, but the tightness in my throat betrayed me. "Nathan," my brother-in-law emerged from the kitchen holding a Pepsi can. He leaned against the refrigerator, amused and disdainful. "Oh, that," Nathan smirked. "We needed the money more than you did, Alyssa." It struck me like a slap in the face. I froze, astonished and unable to make a single word. Amanda chuckled softly and shrugged, like if I was overreacting. "Don't be so theatrical," she advised. "You have a nice career. No debt and no children. You live alone." I turned to my mother. She sat in the corner, crocheting her face as tranquil as ever. "Mum, did you know about it?" She sighed without looking up. Her tone was kind, as if I had just complained about the soup being very salty. "You're always quite sensitive. You have more." "What's wrong with a little help?" I looked at my dad, who was staring at his phone. He muttered without looking up. "Do not use harsh phrases." "It's a family company. I couldn't believe what I heard. But how did you get my financial information?" Amanda shrugged. "I accessed my mother's computer and noticed that your account was still logged in. If you have not logged out," she said it as if I was at fault, "like what they did was completely justified." My hands clenched and nails dug into my palms. My heartbeat was racing. Nathan shrugged as if it were all no big deal. "It's not like we bought fancy items, rent and groceries solely to survive. Otherwise we'd starve." I looked at them. All of them. Not a single apology, not one guilty expression, not even an adequate explanation. "What have I done to deserve this?" I whispered. However, no one seemed to care. Amanda threw her hair back and murmured, "You can earn it back. Don't be overly theatrical." I slowly picked up my purse. Nobody stopped me. Nobody asked if I was okay. My mother just murmured out of habit, "Don't forget Sunday dinner." I walked to the door, heart hammering and hollow inside. But before I left, I lingered in the doorway. Hand on the knob. Then he looked back. "Do you think I'll just let this go?" "Wait to see what happens next," Amanda giggled. "Oh, please, you're being so dramatic. Honestly, Alyssa, we needed the money more than you. Do not be selfish." I did not respond. Outside, it had begun to rain, and inside me, another storm was slowly forming. I drove through the rain, clutching the steering wheel, until my knuckles whitened. The traffic light ahead was red, but my mind was racing from the frigid words I'd just heard. "We needed the money more than you." No regret, no apologies. It was like a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. I did not want to go home, yet I needed air, so I pulled it into a parking space near Green Lake Park, where I typically exercise on Saturday mornings. I turned off the engine, sat in solitude, and then reopened the banking application. The number was still there. Amanda's expression is equally shameless and frigid. I couldn't say I was totally surprised. I just hoped when I was 27, I was hired as a marketing manager for a major pharmaceutical business. Amanda contacted when I was still adjusting to my new work and life. Hey, my phone was cut off. Can you give me some money? I didn't think twice. They were family correct. Then came Nathan, who'd been unemployed for about 6 months. I just need a few hundred to get by until I find something, he replied. I remained quiet. Amanda once emailed me a gift list for Haley's birthday. The cheapest item cost almost $200. I wanted to say no, but my mother called and her voice was beautiful. You aren't getting anything for your niece. She's quite excited. You're doing better than the rest of us. And just like that, I became the first person they called when they had financial problems. Amanda has a new automobile. I contributed to the down payment. Nathan misplaced his wallet. I wired money that night. Mum's electric bill is overdue. I delved into my funds. Every time, all they had to say was, "You are the most stable member of the family." They never inquired, "Are you okay?" Never paused to ponder. I had days when I counted every penny, avoided trips, or postponed purchasing something for myself. I passed down a vacation with my best buddy a few months ago because I needed the money to help Nathan pay his rent. Amanda, they said it as a compliment. But now, I see that it wasn't gratitude. It was an unspoken declaration. It's your responsibility. The rain kept falling. I turned on the radio, thinking that the loudness would relieve the agony in my chest, but nothing could alleviate the sensation of being treated like a tool. Not a daughter, not a sister, simply a credit card with a heartbeat. My phone vibrated. A text message from Mum. Amanda claimed you were furious about the money. Do not make a big fuss. BT, we are family. Why does that word feel so heavy right now? I used to believe that if I remained patient and generous, they would realise, maybe say thank you or inquire how I was. However, they never did. Because in their perspective, I didn't require assistance, and the one who doesn't need it is supposed to assist everyone. I took a big breath and launched the Notes app. Every payment I have ever made, all late-night calls, every time I denied myself for them, I started writing everything down, not to ask for it back, but I would never forget. Never let myself be put in that situation again. The rain began to subside. Pale sunlight shone through the grey clouds. I sat upright, hands on the wheel. This time I didn't glance back. That night I went back to my flat. Still reeling from Nathan's words running through my mind, we needed the money, more than you. No apologies. There's no explanation. Pure outrageous entitlement. What truly kept me going wasn't the lost money. The family was very unconcerned about it. I could not let it go, and I hadn't planned to. The next morning, I called the bank and requested a complete transaction record for the previous 10 days. The file was 17 pages long. I copied it out and highlighted each dubious expenditure in red. One anonymous transaction drew my attention. Almost $2,800 from an IP address that matched my mother's house. Yes, I had used a computer there before, but I never logged into my bank account and instead left it open. I had merely checked email on my calendar. Someone in that house had accessed it, recalled my information and waited for the appropriate time. That weekend, I went back to Mum's house as if it were a casual visit. The roast smelled the same as always, but the air was thick with anxiety. Amanda sat at the head of the table and avoided my gaze. Nathan looked extremely casual, pouring lemonade as if no fire was blazing beneath the surface. I did not squander time. I evaluated all of my transactions. I explained, setting the documents on the table. My account was accessed using Mum's PC. I was present that day, but I did not log into my bank. So, who took the information? No one responded. My mother kept her head down, picking at her salad, as if I had simply asked about the weather. Dad sat silently behind his open newspaper. Only Amanda spoke, her voice tiny but full of contempt. You left it logged in. It's not like we hacked anything. I looked at her directly. So you acknowledge it? Amanda shrugged. I just noticed it open. You didn't lock it, and this isn't the first time you assisted. I did not agree this time. Nathan gently clinked his glass. You're always so dramatic. This is not theft. It's about helping one another. It's family. No, I replied forcefully. Helping is when one person asks and the other agrees. This was taking without permission. My mother eventually looked up, her voice soft, like if she were explaining something to a recalcitrant child. Elisa, you live alone, have a fantastic career, and no responsibilities. Amanda is raising a child, and Nathan is still figuring things out. Family is about sharing. And sharing means secretly depleting my entire savings. My voice started to shake, not from rage, but from anguish. My father folded his newspaper and looked up, clearly upset. Don't be too severe. You've always been the strongest person in this family. You knew. No one else could handle it, so everyone believed you. Have you trusted me? I gave a dry laugh. Is someone stealing personal information and emptying my account? Is this what you call trust? Why not call it what it is, taking advantage? Amanda smashed her fist on the table the first time she lost control. We did not overspend on anything. It was for rent, medication for Hayley, and auto repairs. I am fatigued. Are you exhausted? What about me? I looked at each person in the room. The individuals I previously considered family. I was exhausted too, when I worked 60 hours every week to repay your loan. I cancelled my vacation to avoid Nathan from being evicted. When I ate instant noodles for 3 weeks to assist my mother pay the utility bills, I'd been exhausted for a while, but I've never complained. Because I thought I was doing the right thing. Yet all I did was encourage everyone's selfishness. Nobody said a thing. The only sound was the ticking of the kitchen clock. I stood up and retrieved the folder from my purse. Before exiting the room, I paused to glance at Mum. If this is how you treat the only person who has never asked for anything, don't be shocked when I start demanding what I'm entitled to. Nathan gave a scornful laugh. What are you going to do, Elisa? Call the cops? My stare was unwavering as I looked him directly in the eyes. Simply wait and see. Then I walked out of my former home for the first time without a hint of regret, only a growing sensation of resolve in my chest. I arrived home just as dusk fallen, over Seattle. The air felt thicker than normal, heavy with the rage that was still growing within of me. I sat down at my workstation, opened my laptop, and took out a file folder. I'd saved receipts, messages, transfers, email, confirmations, and even screenshots from years before. Not because I was worried, but because I knew that someday my quiet sacrifices would require confirmation. I started sorting everything. 3 years ago, Amanda made her first payment of $950 for her phone account. To the largest one, $3,200 was wired to Nathan for an urgent matter. I have full bank statements and email confirmations. Over 3 nights, I created a spreadsheet that categorizes each spending. I color-coded everything. Green represents medical expenses. Yellow represents living expenses, and red represents expenses without justification. Nathan spent $1,350 on a gaming console last Black Friday. I remembered it vividly, because I had to cancel a winter trip with co-workers just to pay my insurance bills. On Monday morning, I went to the Financial Crimes Division downtown, bringing all of the printed documents, a USB with the spreadsheet, and a completed complaint form. Harper, a young officer, took my case. She flipped through each page, nodding as she read, "We will launch a preliminary investigation into financial fraud and unauthorized access to personal information. Do you have the names of those involved?" "I do, and yoing, chu," I said, handing her the list. Amanda Walker, Nathan Walker, Donna Grant, my mother, and Paul Grant, my father. I left the precinct under grey skies, but with a flicker of light within me. Not because I wanted them punished, but because I had finally stopped being silent. 2 weeks later, on a Thursday afternoon, I was in a Zoom meeting when a call came from an unknown number. I muted the phone and stepped onto my balcony to answer. It was Harper Ems. "Elisa, we have completed the preliminary investigation. We have sufficient grounds to proceed. The investigative unit will pay visits to the individuals' homes. Today." I froze. It wasn't satisfying, I thought. More like relief. After all these years, someone finally saw what I had been through. That night, as I was preparing dinner, my phone rang constantly. Mom came first, followed by Amanda, and then Nathan. I did not pick up. After that, the texts began to pour in. Call your mother right now. What are you doing? Alyssa, did you actually call the police? I didn't respond to any of them. An hour later, I got a text from an old neighbour. There are 3 people in jackets labelled Financial Crimes Unit outside Donna's house. They asked about you too. The next day, I arrived at work early. As I stepped into the elevator, I caught a few curious stares from co-workers. Then, my manager approached me. We received a call from a local reporter asking to verify a financial investigation linked to your name, he said, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder. We didn't confirm anything, but if you need time, just say the word. I smiled softly. It's okay. I'm doing the right thing. That evening, I sat by my window watching the lights glow from the surrounding apartments. Amanda's words still echoed in my head. I swear this family only survives because of you. Yes, they survived because of me. But they never saw me as a person. Just a wallet, a tool. And now that tool had said enough. I opened my journal and wrote one line. I am not the family bank. I am. Alyssa, for the first time, I saw my name on a page not tied to a bill or a money transfer. Just my name, a person and freedom. Finally, within reach. The first message came that Monday morning as I was getting ready for work. My phone screen lit up with a familiar line. Call me Mum. I didn't open it. An hour later, as I poured coffee, her voicemail came through. Alyssa, this is going too far. I know there's been misunderstandings, but you don't have to take it this far. Can you please call me back? I set the mug down, a chill running through me. Her voice was the same, soft, gentle, as if by noon Amanda sent a long text. My bank account is frozen. I can't pay Hayley's tuition. I don't know what to do. You win, okay? Are you happy now? That last sentence made my skin crawl, as if this was a game I started as if they were just unwilling players dragged into it. But I knew the truth. I wasn't trying to win. I was just done enduring. The next day, Harper called with an update. Alyssa, we've validated the amount withdrawn and abused. Amanda is now under investigation for unlawful transfers. Nathan is suspected in extracting monies from an unapproved gadget. And your parents utilised part of the money for fraudulent mortgage payments, which could be prone to recovery. Oh, I didn't know how to feel. Part of me hurt. Not because of the penalties they now faced, but because they still didn't comprehend how it ever came to this. That night, Nathan called repeatedly. I blocked his number. Less than 5 minutes later, I got an email from an unusual address. Alyssa, please. I've been suspended from work. They're probing my accounts. I can't lose everything over one error. Can't you say something to aid me? The arrogance, the mockery, the laughs from before gone replaced with a barely veiled panic. But I did not flinch. My father sent me a note on Thursday morning. He rarely reached out, so even a single line made me pause. The bank sent a foreclosure warning. If we do not pay within 30 days, we will lose our house. I read it over and over. No apologies. No entrance, just a chilly statement with the dim hope that, as always, I would jump in to repair things. I didn't respond, but that night, as I stood by my window, watching the streetlights wash across the glass, I remembered all the times I skipped lunch to send money to my mother on time. Amanda contacted me in tears, so I cancelled the dates. Not only had I surrendered my money, but also my peace. This time I was not going back. That weekend, I drove to the Edmonds waterfront, where my father and I used to go fishing every summer when I was younger. Nobody knew where I was. Nobody inquired how I was doing. The same folks who once considered me their lifeline are now just reaching out to repair the damage they did. My phone turned back on about mid-afternoon. A note from Mum. Alyssa, I am begging you. I realise I was mistaken, but if we lose the house, I'm not sure how I'll survive. Please do not desert me. I looked at the screen for a long time. That message caused my chest to constrict. However, this is not due to guilt. She realised she was still thinking about the mansion. Not me. Nobody asked if I was okay. I put down my phone and stepped onto the sand, letting the ocean breeze relieve the burden in my chest. I knew I'd reached the hardest part. The point where they called me harsh, ungrateful, and even destructive. But also the part where I was no longer required to bear something that was never mine. I glanced out across the huge lake. For the first time in years, I wasn't concerned about bills, money, requests, or late-night phone calls. I was thinking about myself, and I was finally feeling some calm, piece by piece. 3 weeks later, I requested an extended leave of absence. Without notifying anyone, I packed everything neatly into a rented car and drove across the state on a dismal Wednesday morning, as if I were shedding the old skin of a woman burdened by unrealistic expectations. I arrived in Boulder, Colorado, a little town I had visited years before, on a business trip. Back then, I just had a few hours to meander about downtown, sipping coffee in a lovely cafe, with mellow jazz and bright yellow lights, but the peace I felt that day lingered. Now it was the spot I chose to start again. I rented a little studio apartment that overlooked the mountains. White walls with large windows capturing the morning light. Within days, I had purchased a new workstation, filled vases with fresh flowers, and for the first time in years, I did not have to make room for someone else's requirements. I changed my phone number and informed my employer that I would be working remotely indefinitely. Surprisingly, my energy returned once I stopped being drained by my family. I slept better, ate more consistently, and when I sat at my computer, my thinking was clearer than ever. Julian, my supervisor, called me just 2 weeks after I moved to Boulder. Alyssa, I recently studied your new strategic plan. It's great. Have you considered serving as regional coordinator for the entire West Coast? I paused for a bit. A year ago, if I had heard those words, I would have probably said no, since I was still worried about Mum, Amanda, and Nathan. But today, I gazed out the window where sunlight sparkled through the pine trees and said confidently, "I'm ready." Julian chuckled. I knew you'd be the first person that came to mind. Congratulations, Alyssa. When the call ended, I got myself a cup of tea and cuddled up on the balcony with a knit blanket, allowing the breeze to softly flow through my hair. I had done it. I had broken free from that pattern in which I was always the giver, and no one ever inquired. Are you okay? No more late-night messages. No more urgent calls saying, "It's just a loan, I'll repay you by the end of the month." I'm no longer monitoring my bank account every morning in quiet panic. Every message I received now came from people who genuinely cared, whether they were co-workers, old friends, or a few new ones I met through Boulder yoga sessions. Nobody asked for money. They merely asked how you were feeling today, or do you want to eat dinner tonight? I hadn't just discovered freedom, I'd discovered myself again. One afternoon, I returned to the coffee shop from years before, sitting at the same table near the window. The shop owner still recalled me vaguely. "Have you been here before? Weren't you the one who inquired about the jazz track I was playing that day?" I laughed. That was me, and now I reside here. He pointed out the window. "This location heals many individuals." I nodded. There was nothing more to say. That night, I wrote in my journal. I spent my childhood guarding a door for a family who never came in to see me, only to steal what was inside. I've now locked that door, and I am keeping the key for myself. This new life was not noisy. There was no cheering, but it was quiet, and that was the most luxurious item I had ever possessed. We didn't know what the future held. I wasn't sure if Amanda would call one day, her voice shaking, but I knew one thing. I was not going back. Not because I didn't love them, but because I first learned to love myself. One cool, fall morning while I watered the plants on my balcony, my phone vibrated with a new email. I did not look right away, but a few minutes later, while sipping my tea, I opened my inbox and stopped at an unusual name, Melanie Carter. It took me a few seconds to position her. Melanie was Amanda's cousin-in-law, and I had only seen her briefly at a few family functions. A quiet girl who remained in the background and never spoke up. I hadn't even realised she had my email. The subject line read, "Thank you. Alyssa." Curious, I opened it. "You probably do not remember me well. I am Melanie Aunt Grace's daughter, Amanda. Once asked me to babysit Haley one summer, and you drove me home from her birthday celebration." I remained silent for years, believing that I lacked the right to speak up. But after understanding what you did, how you stood up and how you drew a line, I couldn't help but send this note. I sat frozen. Every word she wrote felt like a drop in the calm pond within me. I was stuck in a similar cycle. My family always thought I was luckier, so I had to contribute more. I worked 3 jobs at once, and yet had to send money home to my mum and brother. When I tried to decline, they labelled me ungrateful and selfish. But hearing what you did and how you chose yourself made me feel as if someone had illuminated a route I had not known existed. You made me see that saying no is not unkind. It is self-protection. It's about keeping your most valuable asset, yourself. I sat silently, hands clasped around a cold cup of tea. Outside, the breeze rustled golden maple leaves, causing a few to fall gently to the ground. But something within me had silently begun to sprout. It was not pride. It was not vindication. It was the feeling of being seen and understood. Melanie was not the only person to say something like this. A few weeks ago, an old college friend texted me. After reading a few words on my personal blog, I used to believe you were super tough and didn't need anyone. But now I understand you were so powerful that everyone figured you'd be okay, whatever. I'd read that line over and over. For years, I never requested to be heard. I remained silent, taking it all in. But no one had ever taught me that being kind does not imply allowing others to transgress your limits. That night, I sat down at my desk, opened up my laptop, and typed a response to Melanie. I never expected that anything I created would influence someone so much. Thank you for having the bravery to share. I realize it's not easy, but I want you to know that you are not alone. You are not selfish. You're simply learning how to properly appreciate yourself, and there is nothing wrong with that. I pressed send and things became crystal clear. I used to believe I had lost my family, but the reality was that I was redefining it. People who love unconditionally, give without expectation, and treat others as entire human beings. The next morning, when I opened the curtains, sunshine streamed into the room like a gentle blessing. I took a big breath, feeling nothing heavy on my chest. Now I was no longer the old Alyssa, the girl who always stood aside and remained silent for fear of upsetting others. Now I was Alyssa who knew when to speak enough and when to walk away from someone who did not value her. And the most wonderful part, I was not alone, because somewhere people like Melanie were finding the strength to come out of the shadows. And if my trip helped illuminate even a small part of their route, then every ounce of suffering I had undergone was worthwhile. On Sunday afternoon, I walked down the cobblestone path to the local park, where the maple trees were changing colour from green to gold to fiery red. A small girl rode her bike, her hair blowing in the breeze, while her mother ran behind her, laughing and calling out, "Slow down, sweetheart!" I paused for a moment, holding a paper cup of coffee, and watching them, like if they were in a living painting. That image reawakened something in me that I had lost in previous years. A sensation of lightness. I used to believe that I had to do everything to make my family proud. I worked tirelessly, saving every dime, foregoing vacations and tiny ambitions. There comes a point when love must be redefined, not as sacrifice, but as self-respect. Alyssa's story is a powerful reminder that being the strong one in the family often comes with an invisible cost: your silence, your peace, your freedom. For years, she gave endlessly, her time, her money, her energy, hoping that love would be reciprocated, or at the very least respected. But when her generosity was met with entitlement and theft, she made the hardest choice anyone can make, to walk away from those who refused to see her as a person, not just a provider. In real life, boundaries are not betrayal. They are the clearest form of love you can give to yourself. Saying no is not selfish. It's survival. It's the first step toward reclaiming a life where you are no longer defined by what others take from you, but by what you choose to give and to whom. You don't owe people access to your soul just because they share your blood, and you don't have to break yourself to hold a family together. If your kindness becomes a weapon used against you, it's okay to put it down. Stand up, speak up, and never apologize for finally choosing you.